Welcome to the episode 11 Reality Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, I'm going to be recapping episode 8 of Destination X. I know I missed last week's episode covering it and recapping Janae being kicked off the show, which was kind of sad to see her go. I was a big fan of her. I was kind of rooting for her along the way, you know what I'm saying? So I was kind of hoping we would see her make it a little bit further into the competition. Obviously, so far, we have seen Josh, Janae, Kim, Ty, Mac, Rachel, and Jonah be eliminated. We are down to our final, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, final 5? We're down to the final 5. Awesome. Down to the final 5 with Shane, Rick, Biggie, Allie, and Peter as our final 5 going into this week's episode. I'm really enjoying the show, and I would really like to see it come back for another season. There are definitely interesting nuances that we're finding out about each of these characters as we go on. But I'm back to share my thoughts on this week's episode of Destination X. Obviously, we're down to our final 5. The group is riding in a boat. One person will be left behind. They will have to identify 10 masked figures emerging from the dark. If they get it right, they will get more daggers, which is more. This gives them the daggers doesn't really give us an idea of what we can do with these daggers yet, but they can win the competition. They'll have to pick from 10 figures from the ride. And then what happens is so they're riding around this thing and there's like masked people, like masquerade style individuals with different unique masks come on their face. And then from these 10 people, we notice that there's going to be 20 people sitting in front of them. And I'll tell you what, one of the more impressive things that we've seen on this competition in general is the pure fact that these individuals have been pretty good at remembering things. That's one thing for sure. I have to give a shout out to everybody that's on the show. Remember early on in the show, they had to remember the sequences of things. And then they had to remember the sound of the song going on, and they had to go find the person. In this competition, we're seeing 10 individuals on a boat with 5 other people lurking around, doing the same looking. And Rick, Allie, Shane, Big, and Peter all went 2 for 2, getting all 10 correct of the 20 individuals standing there. I was impressed. I was thoroughly impressed in this moment. Rick and Peter have a conversation. Kind of looks like they had a date. Like, where was Biggie? Biggie didn't get to have a date. It was like Rick and Peter on a date together. Shane and Allie were on a date together, and Peter was just, or Biggie was just wandering around where they were at. But we find out behind the mask, they will be able to cut their competition tonight. There's 5 skulls on the table. They can place their daggers. They want to put on who they want to put up for elimination. However, no one will know who places their dagger where. So the 3 who receive the most votes will battle it out, leaving the game for good. All right. So Allie placed her daggers on Rick twice, 1 on Peter. Peter goes next. He put 1 on Allie, 2 on Biggie. Rick goes next. He puts 1 on Shane, or 2 on Shane, 1 on Allie. Biggie in turn puts 1 on Peter, Allie, and Shane. Shane goes, puts 1 on Peter, 2 on Rick. So we knew from that moment that Rick was for sure going to play in the competition. So Shane, Allie, and Peter have 3 daggers. Biggie only had 2, so he is safe. Considering Biggie had the least amount of daggers put in front of him, he will be the one that breaks the tie and gets to pick who is safe. So he saved Shane. This one, it kind of surprised me a little bit. I mean, I know he's close with both sides, but Shane was such an interesting pick for me. I know he's his boy. He's good. He likes Rick. He likes Peter. I just kind of felt like he was going to go Allie here. Allie just seemed like the right choice because I just feel like she is the stronger competitor. And maybe that's why he went Shane. Maybe he thinks he's the weaker competitor. But Allie is such a strong competitor that I feel like that's the person you would want on your side, even if Shane goes home. You know what I'm saying? But they're all 3 going. So it's Peter, Rick, and Allie. They're going to play a card game. They have to reveal hearts to be safe. If they get the skull, then it's bye. So one by one, we see a whole dynamic. It was a flipping cards of verifying where they were at. Rick had a chance to pick between Allie and Peter. So this was the moment. We're set up. Everything goes down according to plan. Rick has the moment. where he flips over. There's only one card left, and he knows that this card that's flipped over is sending somebody home. So he had an opportunity, in my opinion. I like Rick. And then maybe Rick that looked at the table and was like, you know what? Actually, I got to rethink this here. So Rick in this moment had the opportunity to send Peter or Allie home. If he keeps Allie, then it's really him versus Allie and Shane, and then Biggie, who just picked Shane. So he could be the odd man out of those four. Or he could pick Peter, and he goes back. It's him and Peter, Biggie, Shane. Shane's kind of left on his own, but it's Shane and Biggie. So it's kind of a 2v2 scenario versus a potential 1v2v1 or 1v3 scenario. So when you think about it, Rick really made the right decision here, period. That's what I really enjoyed about the dynamic of the strategy. And this is why I really like what I've seen out of Rick over the last few weeks. Rick really went from nobody being on this guy's team to having the potential to winning this entire show. And that to me is such an interesting dynamic. Now, that being said, I still miss Mac. All right. So he gives Rick and Peter a clue, which is like a little bit of an anchor. They don't have to tell anyone about what they see. So it's a nice little clue as they head into the second to last episode before we reach the finale. Next week's going to be episode 9. And then, of course, we're going to crown the winner for the first Destination X. I would assume we'll get rid of one more person, and then we'll have the final 3 is how things will turn out. We see Rick return, which, Shane and Shane's like, oh man. And then, of course, he's like, man, my girl's going to come back, right? My girl's going to come back, right? No, sorry, man. Here comes Peter. We have the final 4. We got a sausage party for the final 4. We have Shane, Peter, Rick, and Biggie heading to the final 4 competition here. I want to know who you guys think are going to win. Who's going to win this competition? You know what I mean? I think we are in for a treat in this final episode, or final 2 episodes. I think Rick is my current favorite right now is Rick. I think Rick's going to win this show. I feel strongly in saying that. But if I had to pick a second, I almost went Peter, but I think Biggie is a slight underdog here. And he's been the underdog the entire time. And he's somebody that's slowly creeping up my radar. So I really feel like it's going to be Rick or Biggie that's going to win the first season of Destination X. Let me know who you think is going to win. Because we're only down to the final 4. We only got 4 options. You got a 25% chance of being right. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Love and Reality Podcast, breaking down Destination X, episode 8. We'll be back next week sharing our thoughts on episode 9.